I mean, in all honesty, I didn't really have much of a choice. We needed money for it, and I didn't arrive here with money. I literally had, when I stepped off the plane, I had $60 cash in my pocket. I can't really justify taking Charlie with me. In the last almost 11 months, we've only been from the airport to like mile 90 on the Parks Highway, and that's it. We haven't been anywhere else. Haven't done anything fun to speak of at all. We've missed out on almost an entire year. It's just been work, firewood, and school. You know, when we came up here, I had 2 jobs that I was planning on interviewing for, but I thought I could move up in that company, but it's an opportunity for me because now Charlie and I have a wide open schedule for this summer. Hey folks, Dusty here. Just wanted to do a little update here, let you guys know what's been going on. A lot of things are changing. A lot of things have changed here pretty recently. And it kind of gives me an opportunity to sit back and make some decisions and question my life choices, that kind of stuff. But I just wanted to kind of sit down and have a little bit of a conversation with myself, I guess, yeah, including you guys. But so since we've moved up here, which was July of 2024, it is now almost the end of May 2025. So it's been 10 and a half months, almost 11 months that we've been here. Other than the first 3 weeks of us being here, I have been working just almost nonstop. At first it went to 50 hours a week. That was where I started, plus 2 hours of commute each day. So that was tough. I was getting up at 5 in the morning, which I don't mind. I'm kind of a morning person myself, but I was having to get Charlie up at 5:30 and get him to the sitter, drop him off so I could be to work by 7. And then, you know, most of the nights we wouldn't get back home till 7 o'clock at night, and there's a lot of times that he was sleeping in the car on the way home. So that was tough. So we did that for a couple months. Of course, he was starting school then too. So, you know, when you're 5 years old and just starting kindergarten full time and having to suffer with ridiculous hours, sleep schedule all messed up, you know, it's tough. So made some changes there. Got a different position that allowed me to let him sleep in the mornings a little bit, and I could drop him off at school and then head to work myself, and then the sitter would get him off the bus, and then I would pick him up in the evening, which worked out much better. But with my hours changing, it pushed us getting home till later in the evening, even farther. So, you know, he got to the point where he was eating dinner at the sitter, and, you know, they were going over homework and that kind of stuff. And then again, by the time I got him home, you know, some nights it was 8:30, 9:30 at night. And again, he was already asleep. But it wasn't all the time, but it was fairly often that he'd be asleep in the car on the way back. So that kind of cut into our time, my time with him. So again, not the ideal situation. So that took us through winter, and then a couple other changes happened. My sitter decided that she didn't want to watch Charlie anymore. And I totally understand. I owe her back sitting money. So she has a legitimate complaint, and I do intend to pay her fully what I owe her. But what it did was it put me in a position where it made it harder for me to work to make the money to pay her what I owed her. Because now I didn't have anybody else to rely on. So, not an ideal situation, of course, but I was able to switch my schedule around again and switch my work hours to evening hours so he could go with me in the evenings to work, which meant that I could drop him off at school in the morning and then pick him up after school, and we'd head to work. We'd have to get something to eat because he hadn't eaten, then head into work. And that worked out pretty well for a week or two. But that kind of got old too, because I was working less hours. So in order to make the money that I was making before, I had to work Saturdays and Sundays too, which meant that now we had to go into town 7 days a week. So there's 2 hours a day of commute times 7 days a week. So that's 14, 15 hours. And then on top of that, we still had to, do the grocery shopping, do the laundry, all the in-town running, that kind of stuff. So that made things more difficult. So I ended up getting a second job, something that I could do from home, work remotely, which, that was okay. It was something I could do while he was in school. I just needed internet, which I've got. So it was nothing rewarding. It was cold calling, really, for a company out of state. So, it's definitely not a rewarding experience if you've ever done that. If you enjoy people getting mad at you for literally almost no reason whatsoever and hanging up on you and calling you names, that might be a job for you. Now, it didn't bother me because I really don't care if somebody calls me a bad name. Like, you're nobody to me, so I should have no reason to care what you think of me. But there's some funny stories that happen, like a lady screaming at me for calling a child's phone when, I honestly have no idea who's on the other end of the phone when I call, so you're getting mad at me for not knowing something. But anyways, so that was just something to kind of fill the time and make a little bit of cash. But it wasn't going to be a long-term situation. So that's kind of, I guess it's on pause right now. They actually wanted me to spend more time doing that, and I'm like, listen, it's a second job for me. I'm trying to do it while my son's in school. I can't devote 30 or 40 hours a week to this. And they're like, well, and I'm like, well, yeah. So I do have an opportunity to go back to that later on if I want to. But with summer coming up, it's been on my mind. I can't really justify taking Charlie with me even 5 days a week to work, and not be able to do anything fun with him, really, because my regular job is pretty physical. It's construction. Again, just not really rewarding. So I was looking forward to some different projects. And I've also been looking to get back into doing some of my design work for custom kitchens, that kind of stuff, and also whole home design, which is something I can do working from home. And all my tools are still in Ohio. So picking up another construction gig just doesn't really make very much sense right now. And plus, with him being out of school and us not having a sitter, he's pretty much with me 24/7, starting this week. Yeah, so this week is his last week of school this year. He has kindergarten graduation this week, and we are doing something completely off the wall for us, something we've never done before, taking a big, I call it a big trip. We're staying here in Alaska, but we're going somewhere we haven't been before. This, with work and school, in the last almost 11 months, we've only been from the airport to like mile 90 on the Parks Highway, and that's it. We haven't been anywhere else. Haven't done anything fun to speak of at all. It's just been work, firewood, and school. And that's pretty much everything. Got a lot of projects around here I've been planning to do that I just haven't been able to do. And one of the big things is financial. You know, when we came up here, I had 2 jobs that I was planning on interviewing for. Both promised to be good pay. I ended up choosing one. It was a little less pay, but it was closer. But I thought I could move up in that company, and they just didn't have a position for me, so it didn't pan out. The other one was more pay, but it was in Anchorage, and I just couldn't justify that at the time, not knowing what type of winter we were going to have. So it was really going to put us in a situation time-wise even worse than what we were in already. So those didn't pan out. So I ended up taking this other position that I'd been doing, which was flexible with my schedule, which was good. It wasn't difficult work or anything like that. It was work I've done before, and they had their own tools, so I didn't have to really supply anything. I did end up getting myself a screw gun and a drill and a saw and a few little things. But I don't want to buy doubles and triples of everything because I've already got a garage and a trailer full of stuff in Ohio. So when we got up here, we flew up, which means we brought 2 carry-on bags and a backpack. And that was everything we brought with us. So I had to buy essentially everything that we needed up here to survive, which is where most of my money went. Like, we had no winter clothes with us. My plan was to fly back in December, and bring all my stuff up in December when he was on winter break from school, but that didn't pan out. So we had to buy essentially everything. We had to buy him all new toys because we didn't bring any toys. Again, I had to buy some tools. We had to buy a vehicle. We had to buy a heater. We had to do firewood. We had to do blankets, pillows, boots, dishes, cooking stuff, anything you can imagine. Like, we didn't have anything with us. Now we've got some super awesome friends up here who helped me out, who helped us out. John from John in Alaska, just an amazing guy. He's helped us tremendously with a place to live. It's been fantastic. We're truly forever grateful for John and what he's done for us. And then Miss Crystal and Mr. Reeve from Flat Tire Farm just super, super amazing people. I mean, these people went out of their way um, to meet us at the airport on the 4th of July at 3 o'clock in the morning. They drove almost 2 hours to get there. Then our flight was delayed almost 2 hours. So I just, and I didn't ask them to do that. When I was talking to Miss Crystal, I was just kind of getting some information about the surrounding area and going over things, and just kind of getting things organized and telling her, like, I'm considering doing this or I'm considering doing that. She's like, don't worry about it. We'll pick you up at the airport. And I said, what? Like, these are people I've never met in my life. You know, we know each other from YouTube, but that's it. And they showed up at, like I said, 3 o'clock in the morning on the 4th of July. And they picked up a Walmart order that I ordered on the way to the airport to have food and stuff. They picked that up for me and then picked us up from the airport and then brought us up to the cabin here and got us going and set us all up. And, Crystal came by with food. She brought a whole bunch of canned goods up and things like that, and just all kinds of stuff to help. Water jugs. John came by the next day, brought propane, brought gas, brought a generator over. I mean, these guys just bent over backwards for us, and I can't thank them enough. Another good friend is Bill from My Alaska. He's got us set up with firewood for this year. Fantastic guy. He's helped us. We had a vehicle breakdown once. He came, helped us out, brought us back with his truck and trailer. So that was super awesome of him. He's helped us out 2 or 3 times like that. Just really super, super good people. Dave and Angie from Our Simple Life. 2 awesome, super awesome people as well. They helped us out. They let us borrow a car while the vehicle that we were driving broke down. So just super, super awesome, amazing people. Everybody up here has been super, super nice to us. And I know I'm not mentioning everybody, but I can't think of everyone right now. But it's hard to remember all of them. There's also been other YouTubers that have helped us out too. That, just with the encouragement and, gifts and things like that. Just being super, super helpful. The buy me a coffee links. And the encouragement. That's just been so everybody's been so welcoming and helpful, offering things. And I gotta thank his sitter as well. I mean, she decided to stop watching him, which I totally understand. Like I said, it's for financial reasons. I totally understand. What her decision was, and I thank her for what she has done, because she did help us for quite some time. Watching Charlie while I was working. But all my money basically went into, just getting things set up for us. I had to buy vehicles outright, and then fix them and take care of them, and food, and just anything and everything. So there's a lot of people I have to thank. But so now, getting back to where we are right now, I've been doing a lot of thinking about what to do with the channel, and it's been really tough because there just hasn't been time. There hasn't been time to do anything. When it's winter time and we leave at, well, let's see, we were leaving 7:30 in the morning. and then we wouldn't get back until 8:30 at night. And you come in the cabin and it's 25 degrees in the cabin, so you got to start a fire. I hadn't eaten. He ate at the sitters. But gotta get the cabin warmed up, gotta get things unloaded, gotta get things ready for the next day, gotta go through his backpack, check his homework, get clothes out, and there just wasn't time for anything, much less making content, unless people just want to see me driving back and forth to town every day, which I don't think anybody really wants to do that. I don't even want to do that. And I wasn't filming at work because it wasn't my project. I did a couple things here and there. I don't think I've even uploaded those yet, but just little things. So no real content for the last 7 or 8 months. But I want to change that. And now that he's out of school, that leaves an opportunity, I guess, for us. So I want to take some time and just not work. And I know that sounds oversimplified and silly and ridiculous, and everybody doesn't want to work. But something actually really ironic popped in on my YouTube feed, and it was somebody that I always wanted to check out, but I never got a chance to. And probably everybody knows them, the Outdoor Boys. Somebody suggested I check into them a couple of years ago, and I just never had. But Charlie has watched a few of their videos, just I hadn't. So I didn't know much about them. But if you don't know, they had 13 million, no. Was it 13 million? Now I'm not sure. I think they had like 14 million subscribers, which is insane. But, and again, I hadn't watched any of it. So Luke, who is the father in the Outdoor Boys, posted a video, and he was basically saying that he was done making videos on YouTube. And it was just a 5-minute video, so I click on it and watch it. And it's so ironic because it was the only video I've watched of his. And it was his last one. So it's kind of really strange. But my point in bringing that up is that in that video, he does a quick sit down, kind of explains things about his life and why he's done on YouTube. And then he goes into a montage of showing a lot of the different things that he's done with his boys over the course of the channel. Camping, winter camping, fishing, hiking, spelunking, anything and everything you can imagine. And it was that part of it that got to me, because all those things he had done, he'd done with his kids. And I guess his wife was involved too, and a bunch of them. And that's something that I look back on since we've been here, and I haven't had that opportunity. Charlie and I haven't done anything worth recording. I mean, like, we've been on walks, and we've been to stores, and he's been to work with me, and that's really it. And I can't justify that. I mean, yes, work was important, and his school was important, But if I can look back at an entire year and see no real memories of anything noteworthy and exciting and interesting, we've missed out on almost an entire year of doing stuff together. And I mean, in all honesty, I didn't really have much of a choice. All that stuff that we needed to buy, we needed money for. And I didn't arrive here with money. I literally had, when I stepped off the plane, I had $60 cash in my pocket. And that was it. Now, I had money that was due to me, that was coming in a little bit here and there. So, like, it wasn't a case of how am I going to survive? You know, how are we going to make it when we get there? I had my needs covered. I had our needs covered because I put that Walmart order in for food, and I had enough to get us by. But so that wasn't ever a concern. But I didn't have a choice of not working, because we wouldn't have survived with what little we had if I hadn't spent all that time working. Now, I would argue that, you know, if those better paying jobs had panned out, then things would have been better financially, and it would have afforded us more time off to do other things more fun. But it just didn't work that way. So I had to, when you don't make enough per hour, you have to make it up with extra hours when you're paid hourly. You know, if you're on a commission base or a salary base, that's a little bit different. But these jobs that were supposed to pan out and be better were hourly based. So, and then at that, the pay was about 55% of where I should have been based on my skills, ability, knowledge, background, you know, the whole 9 yards. And I took a little bit of a hit on that because, again, my tools were in Ohio. So I come up as more of an employee because I don't have my own tools. Where had I had my own tools, I can do more things as a business, I guess, if that makes sense. But one thing that kind of precluded me from doing that is, in order to have a construction business here in Alaska, you have to be a resident of the state for at least a year before you can put those businesses in place. So that means that I had to wait for at least a year before I can open my own business here in that realm. So I had to kind of make some sacrifices and do what I could. And again, you know, the jobs weren't horrible, but they weren't perfect. But we scraped by. And there was a lot of times that it was pretty tight money-wise. So, but there's advantages to that. And I'm a little different. I can see, I think differently. I don't know if it's probably come across a little bit on the channel. Some people have picked up on it here and there. But the way my mind works is kind of unique, and I've run into that many times over the years. So I don't fit in every situation well. I'm not an employee. I'm not a good employee at all. Not because I don't show up to work, not because I don't have a good attitude, not because I don't know how to do the work, but I'm better off being self-employed than I am working for somebody else. Let's just put it that way. But one of the things that I do is I see things differently. And when you're broke, not poor, because poor is different. When you're broke, you figure out ways to do things and make things work. I mean, you make something out of nothing, or you find ways to save or scrape or, make things from scratch that you normally wouldn't make. You go through your pantry and you find a few things that don't really make sense together, and you figure out how to make it work and make a delicious home cooked meal. When you're not broke, you don't use that part of your brain. When you have endless options in front of you, for example, it doesn't make that part of your brain work that tries to figure out what to do when your options are limited. And the crazy thing is, I grew up broke. Again, we weren't poor. We were broke. But that allowed us so much experience to know how to handle that kind of stuff. Like I remember at one point, my dad was making us dinner and we were going to have pizzas. Well, we did the broke pizza where you take the white bread and you put pizza sauce on it and put some cheese and pepperoni on it and put it in the oven. Like that was what we did for pizzas pretty often. Well, the one night he went to go do that, and we didn't have any pizza sauce or pasta sauce or anything. So he ended up using ketchup. It didn't turn out well. But that's how you learn. That's how you learn to make do, and you learn how to make things work and come up with stuff. So having that background and that ability, just growing up, was a tremendous opportunity for me. Because when you're broke, anything that comes along is an opportunity. But you have to see it. You have to see it as an opportunity. You can't just look at everything and say, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this. When you're broke, you find ways to make things happen. And if you don't, then you're just poor. Because you're essentially giving up and saying, I can't do anything. And that's a poor mindset. But being broke is a totally different mindset. It's a different use of what you have available. So being broke led us to the opportunity of not having things. And that sounds really weird, I know. But the best thing about not having something is that you can learn how to live without that. So, getting back to our situation, there's a lot of times that, there's literally, I mean, I don't want to say there's nothing to eat for dinner, but when you run low on options for dinner, and you just make do with a little bit of this or a little bit of that, and that's enough, it's really gratifying in some ways, because whatever you just thought that you needed to make for dinner, like say you wanted a steak for dinner, there's a lot of times I want a steak for dinner, but there just isn't steak. I mean, I could buy a steak, but even you go to Walmart and the steaks are $20 a piece. No, I'm not buying a Walmart steak for $20. Sorry to say. When I could buy chicken for $4 or a pork roast for $6, that kind of stuff. But even when you don't have those options, you make something else work. And when you make something else work so often for long enough, you learn. You learn how to do without the things that you thought you needed. And when you learn to live without the things that you thought you needed, you're so much more empowered. Like, it's amazing. And I don't really get into this much, but there's a lot of people out there who do so-called prepping. And it's interesting and kind of crazy at the same time. But, there's so much of this. There's so much that most people rely on when it comes to electric and food chain supply and that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying we don't rely on food chain supply, because we do. But if you're not prepping in some form, if that either one of those two things get interrupted for more than 24 hours, you're not in a good situation. But oddly enough, if you learn to live without those things, you're kind of becoming a prepper, even if you don't have a 6-month stockpile of food and 37 guns hanging on your wall. But if you don't do any of those things, now you're susceptible to whatever may happen. And funny story that I haven't really brought up before. Before we came up to Alaska, work had really slowed down. There was a lot of people that owed me a lot of money, and just never paid me. Over the years, I've been shorted and swindled out of something north of $300,000, which it's been a blessing, to be honest. And it wasn't all at once, and it wasn't all the same people. It was, multiple people over multiple years. Just somebody not paying their bill, somebody owing you $500 or $1,000 or whatever, and just never coming up with it. Or people, that you finish the work for and they just ghost on you. And that's, one of the hardships or the challenges of owning your own business, especially in construction. I mean, you can, in certain cases, file liens on homes and stuff like that, but nevertheless, that's not something that we went through. But again, it led to being broke a lot. Like, I mean, there was good times and there was bad times and there was easy times and hard times. But the aggregate of several years of being shorted, I mean, if you average it out, $300 plus a week being shorted, that's tolerable on some level, and everything's relative, of course, but if you're shorted $300 a week every week for, I don't know how long, 20 plus years, when you look back on that, that's kind of hard to swallow, because not only do you have to take the loss, but you have to make up for that loss. So, at any rate, things were pretty bleak the last year. We were in Ohio, and at some point, this is after I decided to move up here, but before we could arrange things and make things work. At some point, we just got so broke, the electric got turned off. I was expecting it. I knew it was coming sooner or later. But I was prepared for it because I had my power station, had a generator, and I knew how to do things without having power 24/7. So I kind of let it ride a little bit. Again, it wasn't all by choice, but I wanted to experiment with it and see how well we could do. So we literally went 90 days with no electric in the house, other than running the generator and using the power station. And it was really nice. We did still had a fridge, a regular size fridge and freezer, and we had food in there, so we had to run the generator. What I did was I would run the generator in the morning for 3 hours, and then shut it down for the day, and then run the generator again in the evening for 3 hours. And when I did that, I would charge up my DeWalt power station, the DCB 1800. So the amount of time it takes to charge the DCB 1800 is about 3 hours with the 9 amp hour batteries that I have that I use for it. So I'd run the generator, cool the fridge down, and power up the power station. And then I'd use the power station in the off times. But when that generator was off and the power station was off, the house was silent. The fridge wasn't running. The furnace wasn't running. The well pump wasn't running. It was quiet. And it was really nice. And we did lose some food due to spoilage, but it wasn't much at all. The freezer did really well. We had meat down in the bottom of the freezer, and that stayed rock hard the entire time. No issues at all. But soft things like ice cream, they didn't last. But for the most part, we did really well. So that was it was kind of an introduction to going off-grid. But during that time, you realize all the things that you don't need and all those things you can live without. So we were prepping for a grid down scenario, if you want to call it that, or an off-grid living situation. Inadvertently. And that only happened because we were broke. So what an opportunity. Now eventually, after the 90 days, we did turn the power back on and and whatnot. And it was all right. I didn't really miss it. But it was only costing us about $15 or $18 a week to run the generator the way we were running it. Wasn't really a big deal. I mean, the generator was already bought and paid for, so that had already had a bunch of use on it and whatever, so it wasn't like we bought it specifically for that. But so when we did transition up here, when we got up here, I didn't have my power station with me or a generator. John let us borrow a generator, but I think I used it for the first few weeks. I used it to make coffee in the morning and charge devices for about an hour, and that was it. And then I stopped using it altogether. I actually broke his generator. That's what happened. So John lent me this generator, and I used it, like I said, for a couple weeks. And then the one day I went to start it, and the recoil broke. And the rope broke on the recoil. And I offered to fix it for him, but it was almost brand new. He'd had it less than a year. And I said, John, do you want me to fix this for you, or do you want to take it in and get it fixed under warranty? And so he took it to have it fixed under warranty. And he's like, well, do you want to borrow a different one? And I said, no, it's okay. And we didn't use a generator for almost 6 months. I figured out a way to make coffee. We charged devices in the car. I did have an inverter that John had here. And he did have a solar setup that I ended up hooking up to an old battery that he had here in his shop. It didn't work so well. The old battery was pretty old. But I could charge laptop and that kind of stuff off it until winter came along. And then I was taking my computer to work with me, and I was just charging at work. So yeah, for 6 months, even more, we didn't use a generator at all, which was really odd. So we had no solar because it was wintertime, and no generator, and no power station. So we just didn't have it at all. I have a DeWalt flashlight that uses DeWalt batteries that I can charge at work, and I use the flashlight to light up the cabin at night when we get home. Pretty simple. But it's that once you learn to live without something, you're not dependent on it anymore. And being broke put us in a situation where we learned how to do things without. You know, I mean, for a while, money was super tight. Like, I had $30 a week for food for the two of us, and we made it work. I make my coffee every day at home, which literally cost me 30 cents to make an entire thermos of coffee every day. Meanwhile, there's people stopping and paying $6 a coffee at coffee shops every day. I don't understand it. But yeah, so there was a lot of days where I drink my coffee and I have bread or crackers throughout the day and then have dinner. I'm not starved to death. I've lost a little bit of weight since we've been here, but not much. So it's finding those things that you can live without that really empower you to it's a form of prepping, because what's the one thing that's going to happen, when something's not available? Are you going to freak out and say, I can't live without electric? Are you going to say, I can't live without whatever it is? Just name something. Or are you going to have the experience already where you can say, I've already lived without that for X amount of time, and it's not going to really affect me. So it's that, again, I keep saying empowerment, like my POCs. In my POCs, one of those POCs is everything's an opportunity. And it's 100% true. So if you take the opportunity for what it's worth and turn it into something beneficial to you, no matter what the situation was, it becomes a net benefit. But if you don't take that opportunity and utilize it, then it's just a loss. And there's so many people in the world that let things be a loss to them. Like, I could look back at my $300,000 that, I've lost and just be mad about it. Or I can learn from it. And I did. I've learned so much. I would still like to have my 300 grand, don't get me wrong. But if it never comes, it never comes. It'll probably never come. I've kind of given up on that dream, but it's led me to such such a deep understanding of what blessings really are in life and what things are necessary and what things are not necessary. So my point is that brings me to this situation right now. Like I said, Charlie's finishing school this week, and then his schedule is wide open. My cold calling job is on pause, and I'm okay with that. And the other opportunity, the one where I was working, doing that remodeling project, they're kind of mad at me because things have taken a little bit longer than what they thought it should have taken. Well, the project ended up being bigger than what they had in mind anyways, when I pointed out all the deficiencies and things that needed to be addressed. But I mean, they're super nice people. But they've decided that they want to get someone else in there who can just take the project and blast it to finish. I mean, it's 85% done now. Not that I've been dragging my heels, because I haven't. It's just I've had other priorities. Like, I've had to work around Charlie and his schedule and do it all on my own. So I'm not upset. I'm not upset under any circumstances. Now, I think they're going to have a tough time finding somebody that is able to do all the different aspects of the project they're looking at, and willing to do it at half of what they should be paying for it. Especially now that it's coming on summertime and construction is going to be booming here. So they're going to have less people to choose from, and they're probably not going to have the highest skilled people to choose from. And then couple that with the fact that they want, semi-custom work done at a discounted rate, but still done properly and done in a timely manner. That's going to be hard to come by, but it's an opportunity for me, because now Charlie and I have a wide open schedule for this summer. I've saved up a little bit of money, not a lot, and I've got a little bit coming in here and there, straggling in, so I think we'll be all right. I've got some pretty cool project opportunities coming up, helping some friends out this summer, so I'm hoping that really works out. We've got this really awesome opportunity. Let's see, today is Tuesday, so Friday and Saturday of this week, we're going to go do some stuff we've never done before, and I'm going to be making some content with that. So, if we can just hang in there and make it work for the summer and do some really cool things with some really cool people and help some people out and just spend some time together and do cool stuff. That's just stuff we haven't had the opportunity to do yet since we've been here. So I'm excited. I really am. And, getting back to, Luke and the Outdoor Boys and his channel, I don't foresee myself doing anything along the lines of what he's done before. I'm not trying to, pick up the baton or anything and try to run with it. I don't pretend to be anything like that. I love being outdoors, but I'm not that kind of an outdoorsy guy. Maybe someday we can do some cool stuff along those lines, but not on that level. So I don't want anybody to think that Luke quit and now it's my turn to take over, because that's not my intention at all. But it was that montage that got me, because he was able to spend all that time with his kids and make amazing memories. And a lot of that happened here in Alaska, and that's just an amazing place that I haven't even gotten to explore yet. Charlie turned 6 this year, and he's going to be just raring to go and checking out cool things and doing things and just making the most of it. So that's on my agenda. In this whole YouTube thing, I enjoy it. I enjoy sharing. I enjoy meeting new people and, getting comments and things like that. I've met some amazing people. I wouldn't know the people in Alaska if it weren't for YouTube. So all these people that I've met and I've mentioned, and dozens of others that I didn't mention, I met through YouTube, which is crazy. And I've got opportunities to meet even more of them, more people that are on YouTube. And I've gotten to meet other people in their networks. And that opens up the door to many, many, many other opportunities. So it's going to be really, really cool to see where this all goes. Now, I will say this, YouTube is not my top priority. Do I want to be monetized someday? Sure. I'm not going to complain if I am, but it's a secondary thing. It's not I need YouTube to make money. It's going to be another source of income if it does happen someday. I think this morning I was at 410 subscribers, which is the most we've had so far. I think when we got up here we had 120 or 150 or something like that. And it won't grow unless I create content. But I'm also not just going to do things to create content. The content comes along with the things we're already doing, which is why there hasn't been much content since we've been up here, because we haven't done anything worth recording. But that's going to change. So I think this summer is going to be amazing. Like I said, I got cool things planned out already and scheduled, and I'm going to share that with you guys as much as I can. And we'll see how the summer goes. I really think it's going to be fun and exciting. And I welcome you guys to come along. Thank you to the new subscribers that have recently popped in. I know a couple channels have mentioned me in the past, and thank you guys. John just mentioned me in one of his last videos. So thank you, John. If you're watching, you've been an amazing help and support to us. I can't thank you enough. But we're going to see where this goes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And then my plan is still to get back to Ohio and bring up our stuff, which is going to open more doors for us, for sure. Because right now, there's so many things that I can't do, and I hate that word. Like I said before, I don't want to say I can't do something, but the Ohio trip is probably going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks long. So that pushes back getting any type of animals for the homestead or whatever. Because if I can't be here for 2 to 4 weeks, I can't take care of them. So those kind of plans are still in the works, but they're on hold. But getting that stuff up here and getting that trip out of the way is going to be the first big step toward that stuff. I may drive down, and I may fly down and drive back up. I've got a vehicle down there waiting for me that I really need up here, but I can't have it here because it's down there. But I'm still working on getting all the arrangements and everything together and the timing of it all. And I got to work around Charlie's school, so that's probably not going to happen this summer, but we'll see. We'll see when that happens. I was really, really hoping to get it done over the winter. Didn't happen. Spring break didn't happen. Now it's summer, and it's not happening this summer either, so barring a miracle. But nevertheless, I think I've gabbed long enough. But I don't want anybody to think that I'm on here complaining or begging or anything like that, because I'm not. I'm just kind of explaining things. I explained the whole broke thing because it talks about my mindset and why things aren't bleak. And it's been a method of prepping, I guess, because when I don't have those certain things, those luxuries, I can still live without them. And I think that makes me stronger, and it makes Charlie stronger too. Because if you've grown up with everything handed to you your whole life, and then things all of a sudden one day aren't there, you don't know what to do. So he's chugging along right with me, and he's having a blast up here. So I can't think of any drawbacks of anything, the way things have gone, to be honest, other than the fact that we didn't have a lot of time. But now we're going to take advantage of the time that we do have, despite the situation, or because of the situation, maybe. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned, because there's going to be a lot of different things going on, and I want you guys to be here for it. So thanks again to the new subscribers. Thanks to all of you guys who have been here from the beginning. Thanks for watching my videos. A lot of them have been just bland and boring and whatever, but they've been that way I don't know if I want to say by design, but it comes down to I guess, prepping again. It's using what you have available at the time to put you in a position so you're better suited for the next level. So all those POCs that have gotten a smattering of views weren't for naught. They were there as little tiny steps, incremental things that I have learned and taken into consideration and put in my toolbox, if you will, along the way that have gotten me to where I am today and have helped me adapt to being an only parent. I never thought I would be an only parent. I mean, nobody ever really does, unless they plan on it, I guess. But if it wasn't for those things that I've learned throughout the years, I don't know what I would have done. I had to rely on everything I've learned and all the experiences and what they have taught me over the years. And being broke was a big part of that. So this is going to be like anything else, an opportunity, and a tremendous opportunity. You know, I think a lot of people would be probably pretty scared if they were in a situation as an only parent with no reliable source of income upcoming that they can count on. And me, I'm kind of like, yeah, let's see where it goes. You know, we're not on any type of assistance. Some people have suggested that I apply for it. I want nothing to do with it. I've applied for it once in my life and used it for 6 months. And that was it. It was a blessing. I appreciate it. But I'm not the type of person that's going to rely on somebody else to provide for me when I can do it myself. So yeah, I mean, going into a summer in Alaska as an only parent with an almost 6-year-old with no real foreseeable income in the future, it's going to be fun. I want you guys to join along. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to all my friends. Check out their channels. They deserve your support too, because they are some super awesome people. And I'll try to mention a few of them in the description. So if you're not already a fan of theirs, go check them out. Thanks, everyone. As always, take the trip and enjoy the ride.